Trail runners, welcome to Chasing Gold, Season 2, Javelina Edition. We are going to be chatting with the front runners at this year's Javelina 100 who are hoping to get one of those 2 golden tickets into the Western States Endurance Run. Today on the show, we have Nick Coury, who runs with the Aravaipa Racing team, sponsors with Koros and Rabbit. Nick is the American record holder in the 24-hour distance, back-to-back champion at Desert Solstice. He's got a 3rd at Black Canyon. He's got a 2nd at Javelina. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
Absolutely. First thing I want to touch on is looking at those races. Pops out at me. I saw 130 races on your ultra sign-up list. It's a lot of races. When did you start racing and how did you get into the sport?
I guess I started racing in high school with, your normal 5K track races, all that. But then my senior year of high school, my brothers and I signed up for a 12-hour night run. It was a training run for across the years. And the rest is history. That was in 2005 and been doing it ever since. So it's 17 years now, half my life.
Wow. Cool. And I was actually fortunate to be on the track seeing you the last 2 years. This past year was, I could only refer to you as just an absolute machine. It was so impressive to see on that track. We've seen a lot of records go down. This one was the most impressive I have seen. How did that build-up look compared to the build-up you have coming into Javelina?
Oh, this one's worse. Definitely everything I did last year paid off and worked, and setting that record took as much out of me as you might expect and more than I wanted to admit. So I had a real rough first half of this year, was up and down injured. At points I couldn't run more than 2 or 3 miles, late in the spring this year, devolving to just complete giving up on running, getting PRP to try to salvage hard rock, which did work, but it means all of my training miles have essentially been since July. So I've so far successfully crammed, but I'm definitely not at the level I was at last year.
Sure. Let's talk about that hard rock, because I was you're someone who's training I kind of keep an eye on. And yeah, I kind of knew that you were injured. And then even just going into that event on very, very, very limited training, the performance you had was nothing short of remarkable. How do you feel going into an event like that? So, obviously you're undertrained, but you have a lot of experience. What was your strategy for that event?
Yeah, it was really lean on that experience and go at the pace that I thought was sustainable. And I kind of underrated, I think, the carryover of fitness from last year. I didn't calculate it in enough. And so at 60 miles, I found myself feeling better than I expected and probably jumped the gun a bit between 60 and 80, because then 80 to the finish, I didn't do bad, but I struggled a little more again. So definitely the years of experience and even just the recent fitness, it doesn't go away in 6 months, even if I'm not in race tip-top shape because of the direct lack of miles. So overall, it kind of, balanced out to what's probably still an impressive finish, but certainly below what I could do at that race.
Sure. Yeah, I think your strategy, right? Nick wrote a great paper at nickcouryruns.com titled Below the Green Line, which I think is a great resource for all ultra runners out there. In my own coaching practice, I'm always passing this research paper or this written paper along. Talk us about that strategy, Nick. For those that don't know, Nick generally runs negative splits in his ultra marathons. He's been working on that for a little bit. Talk us about that strategy, and if that's the strategy you're going to go with at Javelina.
Yeah, this is an idea that started over a decade ago for me. And it always bothered me that you take the marathon and below, and there's not really a question of the optimal pacing strategy. Like you want to shoot for even or slightly negative splits. And it applies to like virtually any endurance running distance up through the marathon. And then suddenly it just goes out the window beyond that. And no, like everyone laughs if you like, you're like, maybe that would work, but probably not because no one does it. And if you actually try to talk someone into doing it, they're like, there's no way. I can't possibly imagine finishing faster than I start. Do you know how tired you get no matter what you do? So about 5 years ago, I just said like I'm going to give it a shot. Like I'm going to assume that everybody else has missed this. And this is actually also the right thing, just like at all the other distances. And it took me a couple years to get the hang of it. But like, I think I've proved at least to myself, and I would love to see others really go and try it. Like it takes practice, but once you get the hang of it, it's so much better on every level. Like I have so much more fun out there, and my times have now gotten better and better. Even if like at first there was a big learning curve to actually get it right. So like there's no doubt that's my strategy at Javelina. If I get to halfway and you see me and I look fresh and you don't know what comes after that, then you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I agree. I like this strategy a lot. And like you said, it does take a lot of work because for the athlete that's trying to implement this strategy, right, you need to go so slow at the start, right? And then after you get experience with doing it, then you could be like, okay, maybe I can move a little quicker in the start. But it's a big learning curve because obviously in our events, every event is different. So it's not like you're going to be able to hold the same pace at Javelina or like you would at Hard Rock. So you really need to be in tune with effort and breathing and how that all feels. It'll be great to see you running Javelina. Your other performance at Javelina, 14:09, second place. What are you thinking? Is 14:09 good enough to get you a ticket this year? Do you think that time is beatable for you? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, like that's definitely not going to get a ticket this year. That was before the tickets were at Javelina. That was the pandemic year, so the competition just wasn't really there. It was like Tim Tollefson blasting at the front on his own, and then me doing my thing well behind him, and then not a whole lot of other people there. The field this year is so much more stacked, and given last year, like I suspect it's going to take 13:30-ish. It depends on the weather, obviously. I'm crossing my fingers. Like my hope is that we get out of the double digits, both on humidity and on temperature. It's not going to happen, but certainly the hotter it gets and the drier it gets, the more it'll help me and the more it'll make it a struggle for everyone else. Like I am definitely more fit than I was that year. That was even just a training run for Solstice, and this year this is a bit more of a focus. So I should be under 14. The question is if I can go far enough under 14, and it depends how bad everyone else blows up at the end.
Oh, that's so funny. That was the same thing I was saying for Black Canyon. I was like, bring the heat. I want more heat. Oh, that's great. So talk to us about your training. It's obviously been going pretty well the last couple months. What does a typical week look like for you? Like, how are you measuring volume? What kind of workouts are you doing? Are you doing heat training in preparation for this? All that kind of stuff. What does the last, say, month of training look like for you?
Yeah, so like post Hard Rock, I bounced through that much faster than I expected, which is the only reason I think I've got a shot at this. So I jumped right up to 100-mile weeks, and that's kind of my baseline. If I can get to 100-mile weeks and hold that, and then the higher I can sustain above that, like steadily, healthily, sustainably, the better. I got, to maybe some 120-mile weeks this year. Normally, I would prefer to get up to 140, 150 for peak. But basically do a lot of that. The stronger I feel, the more I can do long runs. I haven't historically recommended long runs, but either the length of time I've been running these things or all the other things I've done lately, like I actually like to get in training runs of 30 to 50 miles and stacking that endurance and feeling strong late in those runs and just rolling straight through them without, tapering, recovering, all that is a real good sign for me. I've gotten a couple of those. I've gotten less at race pace than I'd prefer. Usually like last year I was doing races that were 50 plus miles and really hammering. And I got one of those at the Javelina night run, the Hangover, for the 75K, but that's about the only one I've gotten. So I'm a little like, it was a good sign there, but I'm a little low on the quantity of those that I've had in the past.
Sure.
all that together, the last couple weeks, I've been dialing up the speed, dialing down the mileage a bit, and get that last little bit of turnover, that sharpening, and cross my fingers, it's enough.
Sure. Yeah, and I did see a pretty quick marathon fun training event you put on the other week as well. You ran pretty well there. And what about, like, if we think of Javelina, the course, it's hot, it's exposed. Like, what strategies do you have to try to use at this course that you wouldn't be using at a different course? Like, are you trying to use more liquid calories because of the heat? Obviously, thermal stress cooling strategies are important. Are you planning on, what is your cooling icing strategy? You obviously only hit your crew once per loop. So, like, how are you going to approach race day?
Yeah, I'm basically using the same strategy I used 2 years ago, which is all focused on that heat mitigation. And really, like, I think heat mitigation is the wrong way to think about it. It's like active cooling, like how cold can I get my body? There's, I think, some research that shows the optimal racing temperature is something like 45 to 55 degrees. Mm-hmm. And, certainly we're not going to be there. We're going to be 70s a lot of the day with that beating sun, that dry air. But that actually gives a big opportunity is you get water on yourself and it's dry out, and that evaporative cooling works magic. And so I'm just going to be going through basically a 70-ounce bladder between every single aid station from like 7 a.m. on.
So using a bladder on your back, using it for cooling as well as hydration?
Yeah, like I will drink very little of it, and most of it's going on me.
Really? Interesting. Cool. All right, Nick, we are going to dive into the 10-question fast-paced fartlek round. Are you ready?
As ready as I can be.
All right. Some of these questions are returning from last season. Some of them are new. First question. What sneakers will you be wearing at the Javelina 100?
Oh, that's a trade secret. That's one of my pieces of magic this year.
All right. We'll keep that hush-hush for now. Question 2, Javelina is known for its Halloween costume, Halloween weekend. What is your most memorable Halloween costume growing up?
So it actually was at Javelina, I think 8 or 9 years ago. James Benet and I, James, my coach, we dressed up as Dick in a Box from SNL and like paraded around the course all day. We had candy inside of our boxes.
Nice. Are you adding any touches to your race kit this year that are going to be a little Halloween themed?
I want to. I'm trying to take the race serious, like probably too seriously. So I haven't come up with anything that's not a distraction yet, but we'll see if I can get something in.
Sure. All right. How about one product you wish were at all aid stations at every race, not just Javelina? What would be something, if there was at every aid station, every race you went to, you would find that helpful?
So I guess something that has saved races for me and other people is Vespa. I don't know that it works for everyone, but I've definitely seen some people that when you can't get calories down, it cranks up your fat burning for a while. And I've given it to people when they can't eat anything else, and it definitely is like a smash glass emergency. I've seen it work.
Cool. All right, someone is approaching you on a trail during your normal training run. Are you most likely to say, hey, hi, or howdy?
Oh, I'm saying hey.
All right. Candy corn. Where do you fall on the fence? Do you eat candy corn, or are you a non-eater of candy corn?
I am a non-eater. It is not for me, but I will say I love how fun and festive it is. I would like to be an eater, but I'm not.
All right. What about race day breakfast? What are you eating? What are you going with?
Nothing.
Nothing. Wow. Bold.
Yeah. My pre-race ritual is a large pizza the night before the race, and then I won't eat anything till about an hour in.
Interesting. How about a favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, the Crunch Bars, the big ones they're like real satisfying to take a big bite out of.
Oh yeah, you want those big candy bars when you go trick or treating. You don't want the bite size. All right, walkout song. You get to pick your walkout song. What song are you walking out onto the Javelina course to?
Knievel Has Landed by Stone Sour.
All right. You get a golden ticket. You are going to the factory. When you get to that chocolate factory, who would you like to be accepting your golden ticket? Would you be giving it to Gene Wilder or Johnny Depp?
Oh, Wilder all day.
Love it. All right, last question, Nick. What place are you finishing the Javelina 100?
I want third with Pat Reagan or Arlen Glick in front of me.
Perfect. Nick, thank you for coming on and chatting. We will see you at Javelina.
See you later.